Hello everyone. So in this video, we want to discuss scanning and watch lists, and these are the things that we use to find stock opportunities. Now, first of all, what a scanner does is it periodically searches the market for stocks that meet certain criteria that we set. Whereas a watch list is something that we've already selected stocks to be on, but we do also need to know how to sort that list in order to make sure that we're identifying the opportunities that we want. So let's start off with the watch list first. So we have a watch list here that's on the TrueEdge Trading Pro software. And on the TrueEdge Trader Pro software, the watch list can be sorted dynamically by going to the settings. So I'm going to go to View Settings, and I'm going to go here to Miscellaneous. And down inside of this section, you see there's a checkbox here that says Auto Sort Window Every. So I'm first going to have to select it. So the checkbox is there. And then I have to go here to say 2 seconds. Now that means basically that every 2 seconds, this list will automatically be resorted based upon whatever criteria that I decided to list it by. Now, how do you change the criteria by which the list is sorted? Well, by clicking at the tabs at the top. So if I click this one at the top, it sorts it by alphabetical order. If I click it again, it's in ascending order, so Z at the bottom all the way up to A. If I click it again, A is at the top and Z is at the bottom. I can sort by price, of course, too. But sorting by these, by names or by prices, aren't really that effective for trading. I want something that's going to give me better information. In other words, if I want to find stocks that are trending strongly up or down, I want to sort them based on their price change. Now, if I sort them by percent change, this is going to tell me how much the price has changed since the last session. However, the problem with the price changing from the last session is that maybe a stock has had a large percent change overnight, but it's not really going up much today. In other words, what if the stock had a large percentage gain overnight and then it starts to sell off at the open? It would be difficult to recognize that if all I'm seeing is a listing of the percent change from overnight. So what I want to do is sort by what's called percent open change. Now this is a sorting approach which allows me to sort the stocks based upon the amount their stock price changes since the opening of today's session, which is of course what I'm concerned about as an options day trader. I'm mostly concerned about what's happening today. So by using this column, I can sort based on the percentage change from the opening price. Now it's important to keep in mind, how do I bring this up in the first place? Well, if I go to Settings, View Settings, I can then decide which columns I want to add. One of those that I've added is percent change from open. I have to scroll down, there it is. So percent OPN CHG, this one right here, is percent change from the opening price. Now, if you don't see that when you immediately open this window, just scroll down until you do. But once you do, just make sure you select it like so, and then it will be added to the columns. Now, I also have added the percent high change as well. So what is that? Well, the percent high change is basically telling me how close the stock is to its high of the day. I could also sort by low of the day as well, but this is percent high change. So what it's basically showing me is what percentage the stock is away from its high of the day. If it said 0, it would mean the stock is at its high of the day, whereas if it said 1%, that would mean the stock is 1% below its high of the day. And of course, if you want to look for stocks going down, you could also add percent low change, and that will show you how close the stock is to its low of the day. The smaller the number, the closer it is to its low. The higher the number, the further away it is. Okay? Now, there is another column called Quote Trend. This is not important. So if you see that in your list, you don't have to pay much attention to that. It's not going to tell you much that you don't already know. Volume is definitely something I think you should have in there because it'll give you an idea of what type of activity the stock has experienced. So for example, Intel traded over 79 million shares. In this example, Amazon 133 million shares. So these are pretty active, whereas maybe some other stocks may have traded slightly less volume. So that's also a good stat to know. Okay, so now that I know how to do that, if I want to find stocks that are moving up at the opening of the session and continue to move up from there, all I would have to do is sort by the percent open change. That would show me which stocks are moving up the fastest as far as their percentage change. So at the time this was taken, Intel had the largest percent change from the open at 1.11%. But if I reverse this, Rivian, RIVN, had the largest percent loss from open at negative 5.28%. That's what this number is in a percentage. Now, that's a watch list. Now, to get a watch list, I do share a watch list in the folder at the bottom right of the web portal that you use to access our live coaching room. So the folder at the bottom right there for is the use from the service Webinato. That folder is going to show you one of the links. One of the links in there will be the watch list that I use, which you can download and then upload into the platform. All you would have to do is go here, actions, load list. I don't want to do that now, but if I said yes, then it will give me a window to select the list, and then I will select the list that I want. Okay? All right. Now, here's what's next. Let's talk about scanners. Now, the TrueEdge platform does not have a scanner of sorts. There is a high-low scanner, which basically shows you which stocks are at their highs or lows. But for the most part, that's an open field kind of scan. In other words, it doesn't really filter much. So therefore, I do think it's more effective if you have Thinkorswim to use that as a scanner. But there are other scanners you can use too. In other words, the purpose of a real-time scanner is to constantly look through the market for stocks. So I'm using Thinkorswim right here to illustrate this point. So if I go to Thinkorswim, firstly, if I wanted to use a scanner, I can select one of theirs or one of mine. So if you go up here, under personal, I have my own scans, but under public, these are scans that have been created by Thinkorswim. Now, for the most part, I don't think these scans are the best, but they can be utilized effectively if you know what you're doing. But let me give you an alternative. I have shared a set of scans that you can utilize. Inside of the folder, I have a scan for stocks going up and stocks going down for the NASDAQ, and you can use that. Here's how this will work. If I go here, I go to edit, okay, this is the name of the scan. I call it NASDAQ stocks, and it's under the category 1, which is just an identifier for me to know which one it is. Not important, but up at the top, here are the criteria I've chosen. All NASDAQ stocks intersected with NASDAQ composite. For whatever reason, Thinkorswim works better when you do it this way than if you just did NASDAQ composite or all NASDAQ stocks. Just a little tip. Now down below, I actually have this scan set for the last stock price to be $1 or greater. Now, if you're doing options, I would strongly suggest that you increase this number to something better. I would say minimum you might want to look for is $20 per share, which is fairly inexpensive. As far as the volume, this is looking at the volume of the stock, so you would have to go ahead and set the correct volume. And then I have a net, in other words, if 500,000 shares is enough for you, then go with that. If you want to only look for stocks that trade larger amounts of volume, then perhaps you want it to be 1 million shares. Okay. Now, down below you have the net change, which just means how much of a net change, positive in this case, in dollars, do you want this stock to have experienced to get up on this list? And in order for that to occur, you have to set the number. In my case, I've set it for 10 cents, which means that as long as the stock's moved 10 cents or more from its opening, from its previous day, that is, then that would be okay. However, these are just basic settings. You could go to more complicated settings than this. However, one thing that needs to be done here, if we don't want to find stocks that are not optionable, we're going to have to designate that on the platform. So here's how we could do that. I can go here, and I can basically choose a category, and what I want is all optionable. So now I have NASDAQ stocks that are optionable, and that will actually change the criteria that I'm going to scan. Now, I'm not going to change that in this video, but once I hit save, it's going to automatically change the scanner to only show me NASDAQ stocks that are optionable that meet my other criteria. Also, down here below, it says show, and if I tell it to show 2,000 results, that means that if there were 2,000 results, it would show them. I recommend setting this number as high as you can, because that way it means that any stocks that meet the criteria won't be cut off the list because you only asked it to show, let's say, 20 stocks, for example. If you're not familiar with how to set up scans and access scanners on Thinkorswim, for example, if you don't know how to separate the scanner window if you wanted to, or how to load scans, be sure to check out their help guides on their own platform. You can even talk to tech support, and they can help you with that. Okay? So again, that's the difference between a watch list and scanners. Watch lists are static, but that's usually where a lot of the best opportunities early on are found, whereas the scanners are usually where we might find opportunities that pop up in the middle of the day or after the open that wouldn't show up otherwise. Okay? All right, folks, hope that helps. Thanks.